with Rachel. Today we got a good one. We're going to be talking about training variation and why it's so important and why sometimes it's needed. Alright, so there's a couple different reasons, but let's go down to the three main reasons. Number one, beginner. You don't know really what to do. So now it's time to get a book and start programming those workouts. Instead of just coming in and always getting a full body workout, we're going to break it down into sections and start training with a program. Number two, maybe you have been training for a good long while and it's time to change up your training because you kind of hit that peak. Just like in nutrition, you hit those peaks, those plateaus, and now it's time to change up that training so you continue to progress. And number three, you're just bored. It's time to change things up. Well, let's talk about a few different variations. Number one, heavy versus volume. Number two, time under tension. What does this mean? You're going to slow down the reps and you're really going to get that good mind-muscle connection. You'll hear bodybuilders talk about this a lot. I know I like to talk about it a lot, especially with my clients, so they can learn how to really control each and every different muscle. Also, compound movements, drop sets and ladders, isolation movements, keeping it nice and controlled in one spot, holding it there, or holding it in one spot while you're doing the movement. Those are just a few, but I think those are some good ones to touch on, so those are the ones we're going to be touching on today. So let's start with heavy versus volume. Heavy versus volume. So we have a fairly heavy pair of dumbbells. Those rep schemes lower. In the world of 6, 8, or 10, and maybe 2 to 3 sets, talking high volume, maybe we have a pair of 10, 15s. Form is still beautiful, weight is in the heels, slight bend in those knees, nice tight back, booty goes back, thinking stiff leg deadlifts. But now our rep scheme is going to be in higher reps. So thinking 10, 12, 15, 18, maybe even 20. Or you can do a drop set in numbers. So 12, 18, 16, 14, or 15, 12, 10, 8, however you want to play it. Why? Because now we're thinking hypertrophy. What is hypertrophy? Well, lamest terms, it's the muscle breaking down and rebuilding itself so it can get more sculpted and stronger. Beautiful, long, lean, beautiful muscles, right? Or if you're trying to just get big and bulky. So those are why you might think volume versus heavyweight, or heavyweight versus volume. All right, moving on to the next one, time under tension. This is a beautiful one, especially when we're thinking in terms of really trying to get that mind-muscle connection. We're going to a back workout. Nice tight back. We're doing a pull down, nice and slow. I'm really trying to think about isolating those lats. Big squeeze. Time under tension, so maybe we're wanting to work a tempo. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Nice and controlled, and the whole time I'm really thinking about those lats, picturing them in my head, trying to isolate that muscle, work that muscle. So, time under tension is amazing. I really recommend it if you haven't done much of it. Next one, compound movements. Let's take shoulders, for example. We have a lateral raise paired up with a front raise. So the wonderful thing about a compound movement is you can get a lot of work done quickly. Why? Because we just paired two movements together, right? Well, you have multiple things in a compound movement. Before you know it, you've gotten 12 things done already. And also, it is really awesome with building those muscles, really working that hypertrophy. I bet you're sitting in your chair saying to yourself, well, isn't that a superset? Not exactly. For example, that superset, I would do all 10 of my lateral raises. And then from those 10, I would go on to my front raise for all 10. That is a superset. For the compound movement, you would go lateral raise, front raise. There's one. Going on to the next, lateral raise, front raise. There's two. That's the difference between a superset and your compound movement. Speaking a little more on that superset, that is another one that is so great to get a lot of work done, especially in a little amount of time. Once again, really focusing on building hypertrophy, and they're just great. And number four, isolation movements. Okay, we have two ways of thinking about isolation movements. Number one is just being still, right? Time under tension, holding that there, trying to really focus in on that bicep. And number two with isolation, and you're having to really control that movement, but we're not going anywhere. You can't really move that body, right? You're having to stay isolated, keep that muscle isolated. So those are just a few ways to build those muscles. Let's talk a little bit more on that. Let's go back to time under tension, working that mind-muscle control. I bet you're thinking to yourself, let's do a workout together. So we're going to be doing a buy and try, little rep scheme, have some fun, and get that time under tension so we can build those muscles. First one, we're going to go to tricep press down. After I select my weight, I'm going to get nice and close to the cross cable machine. So when you're at the gym, make sure you do it. Yes, of course, you can stand back here, slightly bent over, same thing. But I generally like to get nice and close. Make sure my shoulders are back, chest is nice and high. I'm going to, on this one in particular, I'm going to slightly put my elbows out, even though they're nice and tight. My arms are nice and tight to the body, and press down, getting that beautiful contraction. But then, as I come up, I'm going to come up nice and controlled, stop right about my chest line, and then go right back into that press I'm working. So let's hit it. Now I'm going to rest for 30 to 60 seconds and then hit it again for four more times. After I get done with my triceps, now I'm going to pair it up with some biceps. Why? Just like that, right? Push and pull, chest back, biceps, tries, and we just keep burnout today. But we're going to do variation because you're tired and you're bored. So let's take it back and think of maybe some things that you haven't done before. Some bracket work, we all know, and feet flexion in the elbow. Tight to the body, and rest in hitchhikers, that's what I always call them. I know that everybody has different names for it, but all I'm going to do is get nice and tight to the body, make sure my shoulders are back, and as I come up, I'm twisting and contracting that bicep. Alternating sides. Nice contraction. Thinking about the work I'm doing. Good. After I'm done with those, I'm going back to tricep. Now we're thinking long head of the tricep, that back side of the arm. Ladies, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Grandma arm. Hey, sweetie! We want to get rid of that. How? And what is one way we can do that? Going back to that cross cable machine, I want to show you something. This is what I see all the time. A couple things. We don't want to go that fast. Number two, as you come out, I want elbows together and arms back. Just like if you had a dumbbell, right? So as we're here, only the lower half of the arm is moving and getting that big contraction in that tricep on the lower half. Let it go back, elbows are together, big squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4. So make sure our body's not too far forward, elbows aren't out. We want to make sure we're a little more upright, elbows are in, bottom half is moving, getting that big contraction, not the whole arm moving. We're going to do 4 sets at 10. Going back to biceps, I got a new one for you. You might have never even heard of it or seen it. If you have, you probably thought to yourself, they're not doing it right and they don't know what they're doing. It's called a drag curl. So it's a combination of bracky work for elbow flexion as well as isolation work. Time under tension. As we come up, curl, back. This one is great with a bar, an easy bar. Drag curl. Really getting that big contraction in the bicep. These are way underutilized and very effective. Next time you go to the gym, make sure you try them. Up, nice and controlled. Squeezing that bicep to go back, back, and down. You feeling lost and like, oh no, don't worry. The workout will be down in the description so you can give it a try. Next one, we're going back to triceps. Remember, we're thinking variation. You don't even have to have weights for this one. It's so effective. As long as you're thinking mind-muscle connection and getting a good contraction. So what you're gonna do is you're going to get in a position like you're doing a kickback, but we're gonna go palms facing each other, and every time we're going to contract inward, keeping the core nice and contracted. Arms are back, squeeze. As I'm doing this, I'm not just thinking in, I'm trying to truly contract that tricep to go in. So 1, 2. Time under tension, mind muscle control. You might have seen somebody do this, you might have even done it yourself, but we are going high hold bicep curls. You can do this with dumbbells, super effective on cross cable machine. So what you're going to do, elbows in nice and tight, nice tight core. We're going to bring our arms up, make sure the weight is not so heavy, it's dragging your shoulders down. You want to stand nice and tall, arms up, allow that weight to go down until you get a nice stretch cycling in that bicep and make sure those arms are not going down. You keep them nice and high. Allow the arm to fall. Big squeeze on the bicep to bring it up. We're doing rep scheme of 4 at 10 reps. All right, guys, that was a good one today. I hope I gave you some thought of some different things you can do. Maybe next time Our next workout will be all about compound movements. You guys are freaking amazing. Let's get stronger together.